welcome to another podcast with the Doctor and the Dork here. This is Frank speaking with my co-star Olivia.
Hi everyone. I like when I'm referred to as the co-star.
Is it preferred co-star or co-host?
I think co-host is more appropriate since neither one of us are quite stars yet.
Well, it is what it is. So this week, we're going to try swapping things up a little here, guys. We're going to try and, I don't know, we're just going to make things a bit smoother. At least we think we are.
That's the intention. If it really
Yes.
comes out that way or not is to be determined.
Yeah, less of the us going one at a time and more of our banter back and forth. But I guess we'll quickly start off with our weekend review. For the record, guys, we are drinking some Punch Pops while we do this. They're these alcoholic ice pops that we got from our friend
I
Brian.
may have just dumped one all over me on accident.
And they're delicious, guys. Delicious,
They
I
are
tell
pretty
you.
Good. Thanks,
I don't-
Brian. Thanks, Eversource, for not fixing the power.
Eversource, you still suck, but thank you because Brian and Aaron donated these to us, and they're amazing. All right, so let's go into our weekend review.
All right.
So,
Figured we'd talk about some camping because that was our whole weekend.
is that all we did? Was camp?
Let's not try to figure this out now. What do you mean? In our week or our weekend? Our weekend,
Week,
yeah,
I
our
guess.
week.
I don't know. The only interesting thing we did was camping. But all right, I'll let
So-
you take it away. I talked about camping
So
last week.
camping,
Oh, excuse me.
let's start off with a little compare and contrast to our previous camping experience. Number one, I was definitely the superior tent setter-upper, and Frankie had nothing to blame any inaptability on this time when setting up the tent. But you know what? He still wanted to argue with me about how to correctly feed it through. You know what I think it is? He's got in his mind that I'm this city girl, and therefore no advice I can give about the tent can be correct because he assumes I've never set up a tent a day in my life.
That is actually a correct assumption that you've never set up a tent in your life.
And it's not a correct
Because the
assumption.
prior time we went camping was the first time
That
you
was
set
the
up a tent.
You know what was the issue with that one? Is that the door, when it zips, so I was
You
like,
were
what is
messing-
this extra flap over here? This isn't part of the tent.
You were messing with a pole. You couldn't figure out how the poles went, babe.
Frankie, this time, was afraid to bend the pole for maximum arcing pleasure.
Arcing pleasure.
So, therefore, the tent wouldn't stand. He was trying to tell me to bend mine harder. You know why he wanted to arc? Because you know how you gotta... Those poles come with the strings and you gotta kind of snap them in. Well, one of his poles wasn't snapped in, and yet he wanted me to bend it before he's even finished constructing his side of the pole.
That is true. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Anyways, I will say, setting up tents definitely tests our relationship, but we did a A1 job taking down the tent. We were on the same page. Everything went really well for that one.
Yeah, I think we tore down pretty
Record
damn well.
time.
I also like the spot we picked this time.
We did
It was
much
A1.
better, except for that rock that was under you.
So, guys, let's go into this. So, while we were camping, nothing special happened. That's a lie. So, what ended up happening was we built the power tower of hammocks.
Oh, I forgot about the power
So we had
tower.
hammocks 20 feet in the air.
Yeah, we'll post a picture on our Instagram.
That was great. Then we also did... no, we didn't do that. No, sorry. We didn't chop any...
Story.
I lost track. I'm sorry.
We went to the tower at nighttime.
We did. Well, most of the group did.
Most of the group.
Em and AJ hung out at the campfire. I'm sure they were getting
And
frisky.
then let's maybe talk about our night that night. Or am
I was
going
going to talk about the never-ending slew of freaky mutant creatures in the woods.
Yeah, that was our night that night.
All
So
right.
let me tell you, every night so far that we've slept there, quiet, ain't no problems. Are there creatures wandering? Probably, but they're not waking me up, so, you know.
Can't hear them, right?
This time, however.
Wrong. So we started off. We went to bed early. We went to bed at what, 10:30?
Yeah, we went to bed before everyone else, so yeah, probably 10:30, 11.
Yeah. So it was about 10:30. We went to bed. It started off. Everyone was out by the fire. I think they packed up around 11:30 midnight. That's when we started hearing this freaky large owl.
Ooh! That's basically how loud the owl was. Ooh! Ooh! I swear to God, that's how I
This thing was, he must have been sitting above the fire because he sounded real close.
No,
but
he
this-
moved. At first, he was in the back near the tower, the
Okay.
regular tower. And then maybe an hour later, the Who suddenly got so much closer
He
that
was
I was
so
like,
mu- I
he's
sound-
about to no dive into this tent. Thank
See,
God we've got a door.
That's why, yeah, again, with
We
the
got
door.
a new tent, by the way. I don't think we brought that
No,
up,
we did
but,
get a new tent, but we'll go over that. So, yeah, I didn't hear him until he was in the camp, and he was, like, screaming above us. And then, like, 2 hours go by,
Yeah.
and then we hear Cooper, Matt and Deirdre's dog, starts barking like crazy. But he's barking like crazy because I can hear a freaking cat of some kind.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't a house cat. This thing is loud. And it is making some crazy noise. I can't even imitate it. It was just-
Mountain lion. Basically, mountain lions in Litchfield, Connecticut. What do you want me to
I
do
think it
about
was some sort of, mountain lion or bobcat, but none of us saw it. It
Fox.
was just that I don't know of any other creature that
But
sounds
imagine like the most angry cat you've ever heard of, both meowing and hissing at the same time, and then like amplify it by 50. And that was the
it was
sound.
stupid loud. The thing was arguing with the dog.
And I was like, well, this thing's gonna claw through the tent with no problem.
And then we wake up. I heard my phone vibrating, but I didn't think anything of it. This is at 5:30, 6 a.m.
Too early, yeah.
And lo and behold, it's our friend AJ, and he's calling us because there's a freaking black bear gutting the garbage and just rat fucking it all over the goddamn campsite.
Yeah.
This thing just dragged garbage off into the woods. It
So-
dragged it all over the camp.
All the snacks were picked up, and every time we go, we have this garbage can that's tied to a tree with a lid that snaps on, and never ever has there been an issue with bears going through, but... Well, next thing you know, Frank's getting this phone call, and the next thing I hear is a stupid car alarm going off. And I'm like,
Well-
who's car alarm? And there's Matt saying, hey, bears!
Hey, bear. So here we are at 6 a.m. We have a car alarm going off. We have a black bear mama with 2 cubs in the camp about 5 feet away from one of the couples that decided to sleep over where the food is.
Karma.
Not a good idea, by the way. We've told AJ this in the past, but we thought it was freaking hilarious because here's Matt screaming, hey, bear. And what does the bear do? It drags the garbage bag off into the woods. And then when the 2 cubs got scared, they promptly climbed a tree right next to camp.
The best part about this is while Matt's setting off his car alarm every 5 minutes, checking out the bears, Frankie decides... Now's a good time to go wander outside.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
So he starts opening the tent, and me, being the loving girlfriend concerned about his well-being,
Concerned
says,
about your...
where in the world are you going right now, you kook?
Concerned about your own well-being, more likely.
gotta take a leak.
I was like...
All right, go get eaten by the bears.
Look, if Matt and Deirdre are deterring the bears, obviously now's
He
a
says,
good time.
well, I'm not gonna walk towards the bears. I'm gonna
Yeah,
walk
I'm gonna go
down
the yeah, like clearly.
Okay, goodbye.
Because I'm clearly ready to
eaten.
fight a bear at 6 a.m. with a full bladder.
What I really thought was
No.
happened, I thought his game plan was that he was going to go out, get attacked by the bears, and then Matt was going to have to stab the bears, and it was going to be this romantic bromance experience for those two. But
Well, it could have
he
been.
made it safely back to the tent, obviously.
Yeah, it could have been a bromance thing, and then you shot it down.
But can you think of
Unfortunate.
anything else exciting from our camping experience?
No, we Matt brought his quad out, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a bunch to fix on that thing because it is lacking a front light.
Yeah.
That would be a good one. A smooth running carburetor, that would be another. Some tires that aren't dry rotted so bad they leak air every 2 seconds. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. And no, other than that, Matt, I know you're going to listen to this, but I like your quad. I really do, dude. But
Can you tell by all of the compliments you just
Oh, come on. That thing's wicked. All right, so it's a manual. It is a 4-speed, right? Yeah, 4 up, 1 down for reverse. So, yeah, it's a manual. That thing is crazy powerful. I do like it. They had to give it the Italian tune-up, though, while we were out there, because they had it running smooth. You just had to rip the living hell out of it and clear the lines, because
Yeah.
they think the carburetor is just a little
and then a
gunked
bolt
up.
fell off, right?
Yeah, and then he lost the bolt for the chain, that got flung off. And then as we were leaving, the exhaust fell off of it as well. So that was a little problematic. Good quad, though. A1. 10 out of 10. So, but no, that quad is a lot of fun. If it wasn't a kickstart, I'd probably like it a lot more. Something about kickstarting a quad where you know what it is the riding foot pegs, because he has like the floorboards, but the netted floorboards for the quad. And kickstarting into that, I just didn't feel like I was getting enough oomph behind my kicks.
I didn't love being a passenger on there because I thought my foot was going to get chopped off in the wheels.
Wait, on mine or his?
When we took it back on his. I rode on the back.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, because Deirdre made a comment about how she has to make sure her feet are far enough up. And I was like, okay. And then I went on it and I was like, my whole foot's going to get taken off.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
But... anyways, that was
that's
camping. We had a good time.
And we got a new tent. We got a new Coleman, or was it Coleman, right?
Yep, Coleman.
Yeah. We got a new Coleman tent. I picked up, it's the little 4-person one, so.
2 pillows, 2 sleeping bags, thank goodness.
Yes.
It got a little chilly this weekend.
It did. I woke up all kinds of confused because I was like, any part of me not in the sleeping bag was too cold, and any part of me in the sleeping bag was way too hot. It's a real problem. I mean, how do you... I guess you got to do the at-home tactic of one leg out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're now sacrificing that leg to the bugs.
Yeah.
You don't know what's crawling on you out there.
There are definitely no skeeters in our tent this time, but there were a couple of ants, which I don't understand. Maybe they crawled through the hole from the rock.
No, I saw a couple made it through the door. You weren't closing the door all the way.
Do you hear that? Like, as if he closed the door perfectly every single time.
I left that shit wide as all the way open.
Exactly.
But you're the one who made an attempt to close the door.
Swarms.
So I'm blaming you.
Next. I think you had mentioned you want to briefly talk about interviews. Is that still true?
So, guys, I just want to go over real quick because I haven't had a whole lot of jobs. I'm now 27.
I think that's kind of a lie because you had 3 all at once, so that's got to count for something, right?
Yeah, I did have 3 jobs early on, but even still, if I look back, I've only ever had 5 jobs.
I have. Okay, do talk while I count.
Well, all right, yeah, I'm letting Olivia count in her head here. But I've only ever had 5 jobs, guys. I'm 27, and 2 of my jobs, one was the military, and the other is the current company, Automated Logic, that I'm with. Well, technically Carrier now. But yeah, those have been my life since 19. 19 to 27 has been these 2 jobs.
I think that's good that you stay with somewhere for a while. It shows that you're in it for the long haul.
I mean, it does, but I'm just a little curious, guys. How good... Do you ever get good at interviews? I mean, is that a thing?
Yeah, I think some people are good at interviews.
I wonder if that's just a personality thing. I wonder if you actually get good at interviews.
I feel like you'd have to have an issue if you were too good at them, because why have you had so much practice that you're good at it?
Unless they're like a serial killer. But in which case...
I think the tricks to being quote-unquote good at interviews are being prepared. Like, did you go over your 3-minute tell me about yourself thing so that when you say it, it sounds natural? Did you actually look up the company you're interviewing for? Do you have valuable questions? And then that combined with my personal just life thing is just to always go at it with confidence, because you can say something and it can be the biggest lie you've ever said, but if you say it with confidence,
with enough confidence,
they're gonna believe you.
See, that's the military fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
That's the what is it, the false motivation right there.
Like, yeah. I've had a couple of times where Frankie said something, and I think there's like a 5% chance it might not be true. So I look him dead square in the eye, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's this. And then for a small second in time, I can see him doubting himself before he's like, no, it like is. I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I actually have no idea.
But no, I'm just curious, guys. If anybody wants to write in about some of their best or worst interviews, I'm just very interested in it because I don't think I've ever really had a bad interview.
Do you have, like, a favorite question you've ever gotten asked, or, like, a least favorite question you've ever gotten asked?
No, honestly, I wouldn't say I've ever had a bad interview, not off of myself, but off of, coupled with that. I don't think I've ever done a bad interview, but I've also never been sat with somebody that had like just the worst questions and was grilling me. Honestly, I think the worst I had was joining Automated Logic. Because when I signed on, my big boss, Steve, Emily, my buddy Matt, and the now supervisor Mark were all sat in there and grilled me. Round robin, just everybody questioned me. And I was like, oh my God, I know nothing about this job. I'm completely unprepared. Like, I'm completely unqualified. Like, I'm sorry you guys hired me. I really am. But
we have, like, in the pharmacy world, every December there's, like, a conference. And part of this conference is a bunch of tables that are set up for different interviews for fellowships and residencies. So one year when I went to it, it was kind of like speed dating. It was speed interviewing. You'd go to, like, 10 or 11 companies all in one day, and they'd each ask you like 5 questions or so you got like kind of good at it, but also just kind of generally stressed. But my least favorite question I got asked during that was, if the world was full of just yous, what kind of world would that be?
It'd be absolute chaos.
Literally, what? Because then I made up some dumb thing about, like, well, it wouldn't be great because it's the uniqueness and the diversity that really makes, the world what it is. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking this is the stupidest question I've
I'd be like, asked. There'd be one kick-ass ultimate frisbee league. Cross-country league would be amazing. That's not a thing, but it'd be a new thing. Yeah, that's about all I got. And everybody would play video games. Yes.
We can move into your dork segment now. I don't have a ton for my doctor segment.
Oh, I don't have enough for the dork either.
Well, you got more than me. That. We only got 14 minutes left.
Guys, if you are on a PS4, this month, Sony is giving out a really good free game. Now, I actually didn't look up the second game. Where
you got it from? It was the free one?
Exactly. Right. So they're giving away this free game called Fall Guys. Now, if you're looking for a mind-numbing free game that's actually fairly amusing.
You should see his eyes. They light up like he's a little
Oh my
kid.
God. I just, playing this game, I didn't know what to expect when I went into it. And it was worth it. I really like it. So what happens is you drop into a match with 60 people, and you have to do obstacle courses. And there's no fighting or anything. There's nothing, at no point is there a fighting aspect to the game. It is all stupid little games you play, competing against other people with these little... all I can think of is the Sackboy character from Little Big Planet. It feels a lot like Little Big Planet, and Little Big Planet was a very good game.
Never heard of that before.
It was Little Big Planet brought out the creativity and the kid in everybody. Yeah. The first 2 of them were good. 3 was
we
like,
don't need to get 2. We're not getting enough area for conversation.
You know what? You get your own dork segment. Get out here. But yeah, so that is I highly recommend Fall Guys. Very good game. Next, guys. So the new PS5 that is coming out, it is actually starting to become very stacked against the Xbox X series or Series X, whatever they're calling it.
More games.
Because they just postponed the new Halo game for Xbox, which was supposed to be their like flagship game.
Dun, dun.
Well, they postponed it till next year. Well, Sony turned around and is having basically another exclusive added to their system, the Ghost of Tsushima, which was
Ghost of Sushi.
Yeah, or Tsushima. I'm probably saying that horribly wrong, but needless to say, it was a critically acclaimed game when it came out this year, and they're re-releasing it with a bunch of new stuff for the PS5.
I think it's an awfully bold move to say that they're releasing all of these games when they haven't even given a date as to when the PS5 is.
It's basically out. They've had enough hackers.
Basically out. All right, get one.
Yeah, right. Well, it's basically out, I say, because both consoles are releasing in November.
No, I don't get either. What do you even need the console for anymore? Aren't you downloading all of this stuff anyways from like a server? It's not like you're getting discs anymore.
I buy
discs. Go in there? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can't you do it both ways?
Yeah, you can.
So why can't I just keep the same console as like a means of instead of what? Console.
Council is a group of people. A console, a gaming console.
You're literally saying the same thing.
No, it's COUNCIL is council.
Council, like you're
console is CONSOLE.
Whatever, console.
Oh my God.
Anyways, why do you need to get a new one? Why can't they just use... If you're going to access this point where you're going to download the game, Why can't they just put the new games
Because
there?
you need the newest, latest, greatest hardware and software.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So here's the kicker, all right?
Kicker.
Would you want a computer? So essentially, this thing's a computer. It's a gaming computer.
Like, if I had to get a new iPhone every time I needed a software upgrade, I'd have to not have any phone.
But they haven't released a new one for 8 years.
It doesn't matter. why get a new one if the old one's not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just make it
because
better.
it's not as good as the new one.
Next, what's next on the to-do list? I know you weren't gonna bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up for you. So the other night we're having a fire.
Oh, God.
And we're staring into each other's eyes. And next thing you know, Frankie jumps up and he's got to run inside to the kitchen for a quick second. And he comes back looking real guilty. He's got that look in his eye. So he's been trying to wait to buy these games, and he officially caved in. Are you going to talk about these games at all?
I will once they come in.
Oh, okay, you want to give it your review then?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to make sure my memory's not as bad as I think it is.
So anyways, once he did that and he bought these games that he's been waiting to do, I decided I think it's time that I go find myself a Rugrats Search for Reptar or Rugrats Studio Tour or maybe Spyro Ripto's Rage or something. I needed a good old classic game that I wanted to play. So upon doing this, I haven't actually bought anything yet because I just can't commit because I don't really have time to commit. But I think I will when the winter gets closer. But I found one that had a lot with Sims Theme Park for PlayStation. And when I used to play Sims Theme Park, I had it on my PC, and I loved Sims Theme Park. But you know what's interesting? I never played Sims. I only played Sims Theme Park.
I was never a Sims kid. That was
Did you
one
ever
of the
play
few.
Sims Theme Park?
No, so there were some big blockbuster Sims games that came out while we were growing up, and I never played any
I never
of them.
did either. I didn't think I'd be able to get into it. But I think Sims Theme Park was a lot like Roller Coaster Tycoon. Did you ever play that?
I did play one called Theme Park Tycoon when I was a kid.
Yeah, and basically you make your own theme park and you try to get people to come to it. You can buy like little shops, little ice cream places. You can have different rides. I really loved doing.
My theme park sucked.
Mine was so good. I loved it.
I was terrible at that game. I really was. And I could never understand why I could never get anyone to stay in my park until it just shut down. And the game would be like, you failed. And I'd be like, oh.
But
that's really it. Oh, well, I have one thing that's not really part of my dork segment, guys.
Oh, boy.
But in case you were unaware, painting eyes on a cow's butt deters predators from eating them. I was trying to think, I guess predating them, but that doesn't sound right because that's actually a word. Well, that's what the word they use in this article. But anyway, there's this guy out in Botswana, in Africa.
Botswana.
And he is painting eyes on cows.
Do what? Paint eyes?
But he's painting eyes on cows' asses. And apparently it is deterring the lions. Now, of all the ridiculous things that I've ever heard, that's up there. That's pretty hilarious that somebody that in all of our history, it never occurred to any farmers to paint eyes on their cows' butts to avoid them from getting eaten or to help them from getting eaten.
Yeah, interesting.
It's just amazing. We've come this far, and the best tech we have against lions versus cows is painting eyes on their asses. That's just like the best we can do.
With that, we're going to move right into the doctor segment now that all of your brains have melted out of you.
I hope you're all dumber for this. Just lost.
So, I got a couple brief things, nothing too in-depth, but when I've been seeing a lot of news articles that the opioid epidemic is kind of increasing during coronavirus. Have you seen any of those headlines?
I haven't seen anything about it, but I have read a few things on Reddit that's saying it's been getting really out of hand in a lot of the cities.
Yeah.
And especially down south.
So that's kind of terrifying and sad. I can see it because it's not like we're living in easy times. People are probably looking for an escape. I think a lot of the other issue is that the rehabs are kind of being forced to cut down or like at least slow down the people that they're willing to accept into their programs. So I'm sure that like even if there are people who want to seek help, it's becoming a lot harder to actually get that help.
Because of Corona.
Yeah. So I don't really have much to say about that. I could really go in depth about addiction. I don't know. I find that topic very interesting. But
you should we should have Sam on.
Oh, that's a good idea. And
yeah, Sam, if you ever listen to this, hi. But yeah, we should
a
have
little
Sam
segment
on
on that?
because yeah, she's very into that.
All right.
She wanted to be a drug rehab counselor. Yeah. So
But for now, if you're listening to this and you're part of the epidemic, go listen to Dopey Podcast. I'll give them a free plug.
Dopey Podcast. Yes, I'm reiterating.
The other thing I want to talk about real briefly is Frankie had sent me an article about how Russia is basically preempting
Let's talk about
their
this.
coronavirus
Guys.
vaccine.
Who's going out of their way to take this Russian corona vaccine? Come on.
Somebody, I guess.
Putin said that is what were Putin's words?
Oh gosh, very effective, very safe, met all checkpoints. Like what? Okay, Wood, I didn't know you became a scientist.
I love that Putin said it met all of its checkpoints, even though in the article I sent you, it's literally said that they skipped part of the human testing trials.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that sounds like some of those check boxes that you said were all checked.
So this is a very interesting topic, I feel, just in the kind of drug discovery realm, because we reached this issue, and I can understand both sides of the argument. So one side of the argument, which would be kind of Putin's side to this, is that if there's a drug that in any way might be effective, why, if I'm willing to take the risk knowing that a risk exists, why should the government be able to stop me? And I think that's an interesting thing, because maybe there are drugs that would be beneficial for some people that it's going to take 1 to 2 years before they finally come to market. And if you could use it before it's finally approved and benefit from it, then that would be ideal. On the other hand, governments and other people's view is that they want to make sure it's as safe as it needs to be before they go giving it out. I want to say freely, because it's never free. But
I ponder on that, and I just wonder if people are just trying... I wonder if our government is less concerned about the vaccine and more concerned of its efficacy based off of saving their own asses. Because they're afraid of being sued.
Oh, 100%.
Because I'm wondering if they're... I wonder if what we're seeing is their concern of, we're genuinely concerned about people, or we're genuinely concerned about not ending up in prison. And I wonder where it comes from, because those are two very different places to come from when trying to help something.
Yeah.
And it just makes me wonder if if our government's hindering us.
You know what else is interesting about this that I haven't really thought about before this exact moment, is that it's too bad there isn't like an independent kind of government-owned company that funds the research and the development of drugs for this, like when your nation's in the middle of a national pandemic, or you know what I mean? Because right now what they're doing is they're throwing money at a bunch of pharmaceutical companies to try to figure this out. But at the end of the day, some pharmaceutical company is going to end up benefiting for whoever gets it first.
Well, isn't it the CDC? Isn't that what we use
They're
them
giving
for?
the funding for it, and the FDA's looking at the trial information to see what happens. The same thing is true even for the flu vaccine.
We should look into the CDC, because I'm curious, because I thought the whole point of the CDC was to have our own version of the WHO just for the US.
Sure, so they give guidance. The WHO gives guidance. They don't find drugs.
Well, the WHO's out there on the ground, we don't really have these problems in, the rest of the world. But, a lot of the third world countries, they're out there in Africa, Africa's obviously not
They're
a country,
providing the care.
continent,
They're more like the doctors, the pharmacists, the nurses. They aren't the drug developers and drug researchers.
Oh, well, I was thinking the CDC was... when I hear CDC, I'm imagining some dude in a lab coat mix-matching viruses and stuff, making vaccines.
They're looking at results from trials and figuring it out from there. Yeah, so they're getting the funding. They're taking your taxpayer dollars to look at who's doing the research that deserves their funding, and they're throwing the money there. The same thing happens with the flu vaccine.
Dumb.
So every year, the flu vaccine on its own isn't profitable enough for a company to take its time to figure out what strains are going to be most common this year and come up with it. So what happens is the federal government takes a survey and says, hey, what company is willing to make it this year, throws all the money towards them to come up with it, and that's who makes your flu vaccine.
Well, that, and they were saying, I was listening to The Deadliest Enemies by the Michael T. Osterholm.
Yeah.
And in that book, he goes on and describes, he's like, some years, he's like, the flu vaccine we create we find out is like 0% effective.
Yeah.
And he's like, in some years, it's like 20%.
80. Yeah.
He's like, but at no point do we ever produce a vaccine that's like 100%. He's like, the
No.
closest we've ever really gotten was like an 80% effective vaccine.
Yeah, the flu vax, like when I see all my very pro-vaxxer friends try to make their point during flu season, I'm just like, use like a different vaccine because this is
Yeah.
the worst one to try to make
The flu
case
vaccine
on.
is literally just a shit show of, I think we got it this year, or
But-
because they have to make it in anticipation. He was saying that they make
Yeah.
it in anticipation. So you're
like
making
predicting the weather,
Yeah, you're
essentially.
making
You're
a
looking at
vaccine
trends
for,
and
you know,
something that doesn't
what
even
the next
exist yet.
year's flu is going to be. And it's
Yeah.
like, how are you supposed to do that?
Yeah.
That seems very unrealistic to me.
Usually they're lucky if they get like one strain, right? Usually they put 3 or 4 strains in there, and if you're lucky, one of them is the popular one that year.
But all right.
But I know we have more we wanted to talk about. Are we okay?
Yeah, let's go a couple 2 minutes. We'll
Okay.
run you guys
I
over.
just want to talk about one more thing, and then you can bring up something. The reason I brought this up with this whole "it'd be nice to have an independent research" thing is that somebody had posted an article that we, the taxpayers, are funding the research for this vaccine, and yet when the vaccine comes out, we're still going to have to pay for the vaccine. And they
that
bring
is
up an
weird.
interesting point because, like, sure, if they're looking up a medication to treat high blood pressure, chances are they're just doing that on their own, and that's why when it comes out, it costs so much because you have to pay for all of the research that they just done.
Well, I guess I'm not really against that whole concept because, all right, that's like, well, you're paying to do the research.
But
Then
you
have-
already paid them with your tax dollars to do the research.
your tax
now you're
dollars went to
paying again.
research. No, now you're paying for a product.
product?
That'd be
Yeah.
like if you paid the guy to engineer a car, right? Not build you a car, engineer the car.
All right, I feel
Say,
ya.
hey, here's the blueprints.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want the drug company to do? Go around and go, all right, here's the blueprint for the vaccine. Go
Okay.
make it yourself.
So you're saying since there's actual substance, they had to make it. They literally had to give you the product.
They had to make it up from nothing.
Okay,
And
yeah, I'm with
our
you.
money's going towards that. And then to buy it a second time
It's for the ingredients that it took
exactly,
to make.
and that's
Okay.
for the ingredients in the process.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
That's interesting.
That doesn't seem
I like
super
that perspective.
that doesn't seem super wrong. to
I
me.
bet
Now,
if you looked at how much those ingredients cost versus how
then
much
I'd be like,
they're
okay,
charging
screw
you,
this.
yeah.
I'm with you, drug companies, up until you start listing off crazy prices on shit, and then I'm gonna be like, okay, you lost me.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I feel you. But that's about all I've got for the doctor segment. So,
all right, guys.
we got
well,
anything else? Oh, I know one thing I want to say,
Oh.
but you might say it before me.
What is it? Go for it.
We're up to 133 listens.
We are, guys. So thank you again for all your support. We really need to put this in the beginning.
I know, I
but
thought about that too.
We're going to
so
run you an extra 30 seconds. I just want to take a minute here. Olivia and I would like to take a minute here. And thank you guys for all the support. Friends, family, new listeners. It means the world. We wish we got more feedback from you guys.
Yeah, send us an email, drandoric@gmail.com. Drop us a comment.
Give us a subscription, a like, a thumbs up, a comment on YouTube, or literally on anything.
Go to Instagram, like a picture. I'm going to post the Power Tower hammock and maybe something else on there if I can.
But, you know, we really enjoy making this podcast, and we just want to say thank you guys for coming out and helping us. And I say coming out by sitting at home and listening to
Thank
these.
you guys for coming out here.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you on episode 12. Any last remarks, Olivia?
No, that's it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.